we observe that Ampere's circular law is not consistent everywhere. It has some inconsistency, and we need to remove that inconsistency. And that was removed by, again, Maxwell. And that's why the modified Ampere's law is called Ampere's law with Maxwell's modification. So what Maxwell actually did? Maxwell considered the equation of continuity. And according to that equation of continuity, divergence J equals to minus del rho del T. Here again, J is your current density. That means amount of current passing per unit area when the area is held perpendicular to the flow of charges. And rho is the charge per unit volume. Rho is the charge per unit volume. Actually, think of the situation whether charges are flowing through a conductor or some water molecules are flowing through a tube. The situation is that when steady flow is required, when you want a steady flow of charges, steady flow of water through that channel, then there should not be any accumulation of particles. There should not be any accumulation of charges at any place. And if there is no accumulation of charges, then whatever charges come at any point, that must be flown. That means there should not be any charges staying or any particles staying at any region. So under that condition, whatever charges or whatever water particles per unit volume comes to a point, it must be flown from that point. So that the divergence of the current density is equal to the decrease in rate of change of charge density. So that was given by equation of continuity. So under that situation, divergence J equals to minus del rho del T. So Maxwell borrowed this equation. This is called equation of continuity. He utilized that equation. And he used Gauss formula. We know that according to Gauss law, divergence of E equals to rho by epsilon naught. That was Gauss law. Now, instead of rho, we can write epsilon naught divergence as per Gauss law. That means instead of this rho, we can write epsilon naught divergence. So Maxwell used these two laws, equation of continuity and Gauss law. Gauss law is used so that we can replace this charge density in terms of electric field. Okay. So now what we are observing here? We are observing the negative symbol actually only tells you that it is the decrease in charge. The main point is here, there are two operators, del del T. This is the differential operator, del del T. That means is a time operator, and there is another operator here, del operator. So these are the two operators operating on electric field. First, space operator. Why I am saying space operator? Because what is this quantity? This is actually I del x plus j del y plus k cap del z. I, j, k are unit vectors along x, y, z directions, and we have this del x, del y, del z. So you observe here we are dealing with x, y, z. That's why we can say this is a space operator. This operates on space. This is a space operator. Whereas del T is time operator. Where we want to change the quantity with respect to time. Okay. So there are two operators. One is space operator, one is time operator, which are operating on the electric field. First, the space operator is operating, divergence is operating on electric field, then del T is operating. Now, it is well established that, in fact, in the second part of quantum mechanics, we will also observe it, that space and time operators can be interchanged. That means, if we interchange the position of space and time operator, the value, final value remains same. They will not affect each other. They will not affect each other. That means if I interchange the position of space and time operator, then effective value remains same. Therefore, if I replace, interchange the space and time operator like this, the value remains same. That means instead of del t, now I'm writing divergence, that is del dot, and instead of del dot, I'm writing del t. So it will be del t operating on E, epsilon naught remains same, then del dot is operating. So we have just interchanged the position of these two. We have just interchanged the position of these two. Just interchange the position, because we know that if one is space operator, one is time operator, then after interchanging their positions, the final result will not be affected. We are very sure about it, and that's why we can easily interchange their positions. But why we want to interchange their position? Now you observe, left hand side was written as divergence of something, right hand side is also written as divergence of something. That is the objective of Maxwell, that both sides now can be written as divergence of something. Then you can take common. Divergence is taken common. So divergence of J, this quantity, plus, because we have negative symbol on right side, so plus epsilon naught del E del T equals to 0. If we just interchange this, the right hand side is taken on left hand side, then and divergence is taken common. So to make that divergence common, space and time operators were interchanged. Here, so what Maxwell did, he used the equation of continuity, that is divergence J equals to minus del rho del T, which is very applicable when there is no accumulation of charges flowing through that conductor. Then he used well-known Gauss law, so that the charge density, volume charge density, can be replaced in terms of electric field. So this was that. Then the space and time operators are interchanged. Space and time operators are interchanged their positions, so that left hand side and right hand side can be written in such a way that divergence is taken common. So now divergence of this whole quantity is 0. That was the objective. Why? Because you have observed previous slide. In the previous slide, what we have observed, that when there was the Ampere-Circular law, when divergence was taken on both sides like this, then this quantity is always 0, because divergence of curl of any vector is 0. But divergence J is not always 0. This is not always 0. This can be 0, but under a certain condition, steady state condition. When current is steady, only then divergence J is 0. Otherwise, it is not. But so point is, divergence J is not always 0. Remember, divergence J is not always 0. Though divergence of J is not always 0, it can be 0, but under certain condition. But it is not always 0. But divergence of this quantity is always 0. This is true, because equation of continuity is always true. Gauss law is always true. Therefore, this equation is always true. Divergence of this whole thing is always 0. So what Maxwell said, that although divergence J is not always 0, divergence of J plus something, this something, is always 0. Therefore, Ampere-Circular law should be modified like this. This was the actual Ampere-Circular law. Curl B equals to mu naught J. Now Maxwell modified it. Maxwell said, instead of J, it should be J plus this. Please note it down, that instead of J, the right hand side should be written as J plus epsilon naught del E del T. Why? Because in doing so, if I take divergence on both sides, so divergence of curl of B always 0. If I take divergence on right hand side, mu naught is constant, so divergence of J plus epsilon naught del E del T is always 0. That was the trick of Maxwell. So he only introduced this quantity. He introduced this quantity in Ampere's law, epsilon naught daily del T. And in doing so, we observe that the inconsistency in Ampere's law is now removed. Because if I take divergence on both sides, now under any situation, left hand side, right hand side, both will be 0. Left hand side will be 0 because divergence of card of any vector is 0. And right hand side will be 0 because we observe from equation of continuity and Gauss law that divergence of J plus epsilon daily del T is always 0. So though divergence of J was not 0, but divergence of this whole thing is always 0. So this extra term is there, which is responsible. Epsilon daily del T. This term was introduced by Maxwell and this form is now called modified Ampere's law. This is the modified Ampere's law, this whole thing. Curl B equals to mu naught J plus epsilon naught daily del T. So that was your modified Ampere's law. So if you are asked what is the inconsistency, you can write. If you are asked how to modify Ampere's circular law, that is the modification. Only 2 lines are required. Now, in doing that or in removing that inconsistency, another new thing comes out. What was Ampere's law before? Ampere's law before was curl B equals to mu naught J. That was Ampere's law before. That was absent. Initially, our Ampere's law was curl B equals to mu naught J. What is the physical meaning of that? Curl B equals to mu naught J. What is the physical meaning? It is that when current passes through a conductor, we get magnetic field, isn't it? That was, we know that if a current passes through a conductor, then magnetic field can be created. Magnetic field generates around that conductor. And that magnitude and direction can be estimated from Ampere's law. Now you observe another term is there, this term. So can you now say that it is not only the conduction current that produce magnetic field, but rate of change of electric field can also produce magnetic field, isn't it? What you get here, that in right hand side there is a daily del T. Daily del T means rate of change of electric field. If electric field is changed with time, then it can produce magnetic field. Just like Faraday's electromagnetic induction. In that case, what we have said, rate of change of magnetic field can produce electric field. Now we can say that rate of change of electric field can also produce magnetic field. So it's not that only current can produce magnetic field, but rate of change of electric field can also produce magnetic field. Rate of change of electric field can also produce magnetic field. We call that current as displacement current. We are saying that conduction current can produce magnetic field, normal current can produce magnetic field. If current passes through a wire, then that current can produce magnetic field. Similarly, rate of change of electric field can also produce magnetic field. And that thing is called displacement current. Why? Because if you observe in this equation, J is the conduction current density. J is the conduction current density. So we are writing it in this way. J plus something epsilon daily del T. I am writing it as JD. The quantity here, this quantity epsilon daily del T, I am giving it a name JD. Because one thing is sure, whatever be the unit of J, that would be the unit of epsilon daily del T. Units must be same. Therefore, if I am saying this is J, this whole thing I am writing it as JD. What is JD? JD is epsilon daily del T. Since J is the conventional current density, because conventional current passes through, that's why this current density is conventional current density. So we are giving the name as this one as displacement current density. We are giving it as displacement current density. Why displacement current density? Because epsilon daily del T. Now we know D vector equals to epsilon naught E plus P. Remember, in the previous module, we have discussed about displacement vector D. And what was displacement vector? Epsilon naught E plus P. P was the polarization vector. Now, if it is not a dielectric material, like if it is a conductor, then there is no P. P will be absent because there is no polarization. Therefore, D equal to epsilon naught E. That means instead of epsilon naught E, we can write D. So JD is del D del T, rate of change of displacement current with time, and D is displacement vector. That's why JD is called displacement current density. That's why it is called displacement current density. And if this is our JD, if I take dot product with surface and integrate it over the surface, we get something. That something is called displacement current. Like in normal case, if J is our conduction current, we take dot product with small area ds, integrate it over the surface S. What we get? We get current. We have used it. Similarly, if we write it in this way, we get something. That something is called displacement current. Why I'm saying something? Because it is not actual current. This is not actual current. Because you understand what is meant by current. Current means flow of charges. When charges flow, then we get something as current. But here, what we are observing is that rate of change of electric field. It only tells us that like normal current can produce magnetic field, rate of change of electric field also produce magnetic field. That's why we are telling that quantity as displacement current. But it is a misnomer. The name is not correct. It has no property of normal current. Still, till date, after Maxwell, till date, the name is displacement current. Displacement current density, like that we say. But please do remember, it has no normal property of normal or conventional current. It has no property of conventional current. It is called displacement current only in the sense that, like normal current, it can also produce magnetic field. That is the only reason we can call it current. The only reason is that, like conventional or normal current, it can also produce magnetic field. So this rate of change of electric field can produce magnetic field. That is the main thing we need to understand. So it is the differential form of Ampere's modified Ampere's law. Now, if I want to write it in the integral form. So what was Ampere's law in integral form? If you remember, it was B dot dl equals to mu naught times total current, or we just can write as J dot ds. That was the, if you have written it, that was the integral form of Ampere's law. Now Ampere's law is modified because of the introduction of this displacement current density. This whole thing is called displacement current density. Again, this is a misnomer. It's called displacement current density only in the sense that, like conventional current density, it can also produce magnetic field. That is the reason, only reason. Now, we want to write it in the integral form. So what we will do? First thing, we take dot ds on both sides. So we will multiply dot ds on both sides. That means what we will do? This was our equation. Dot ds will multiply on both sides. Mu naught J dot ds plus epsilon naught del E del T dot ds. Then integrate it over the surfaces. So if I integrate it, it will look like this. Curl B dot ds over the surface S equals to mu naught J dot ds over the surface S, mu naught epsilon naught del E del T dot ds over the surface S. You just integrate it over the surface S. If we can use Stokes law on left hand side, you can do it, or you can remove, you can write it up to this also. There is no problem because it is also integral form. But if you want to write it in the same way like normal Ampere's law, then you can use Stokes law on left hand side. If you use Stokes law on left hand side, it will be just B dot dl. So that will be equals to whatever we have on right hand side. So that is the integral form of modified Ampere's law. So we observe from Faraday's law and modified Ampere's law that rate of change of magnetic field can produce electric field. Similarly, rate of change of electric field can also produce magnetic field. So they are completely related with each other. And this is the way actually any electromagnetic wave propagates. You know that from the sunlight comes to earth, and within this vast space there is a majority portion where there is no medium present. Without any help of medium, electromagnetic wave can propagate. Electromagnetic wave doesn't require any medium for propagation. Why is it so? How is it possible? It is due to this effect. Actually, somehow, if you can initiate the process, if you can initiate a change in electric field, somehow, suppose if your electric field is changed, now that rate of change of electric field can produce magnetic field. Now, whatever magnetic field is produced, that magnetic field again fluctuates, and that change in magnetic field produces electric field, and the process continues. And this is the very process by which an electromagnetic wave propagates, which we will discuss in electromagnetic theory. Now, I said that displacement current is just a misnomer. It has no basic property of conventional current. Displacement current is actually due to the rate of change of electric field. We have already written it. That current, the displacement current is actually epsilon naught del del t dot ds. So it's just a mathematical form. Main thing is that rate of change of electric field. This is the main point. This is the main point actually. Rest is mathematical. If I write it in this way, then whatever quantity I get, if I write it in this way, then whatever quantity we get, that has unit of ampere. That has the unit of ampere. That's why we are calling it as displacement current. Because now conventional current and this whole thing has the same unit. That is the reason. That is the reason we are calling it as displacement current. Displacement because displacement vector is used, but it has no other property. Like we know that Ohm's law is valid in case of conventional current, but here there is nothing called Ohm's law because there is no actual charges present here. It is the rate of change of electric field only. There is no actual flow of charges, but it is very effective when there is a discontinuity in the normal current flow. I'll show you. So in that situation, it is very important. In a good conductor, JD is negligible compared to J at any frequency less than optical frequency. That is the frequency we use in case of normal or good conductor. JD is negligibly small, and that's why Faraday and other scientists couldn't detect this small quantity, because in normal conduction, in normal flow of charges, that means for a good conductor or even for a normal conductor, this portion, the second portion, is so small. That means epsilon naught del del t is so small in comparison to J. That means in comparison to conventional current density, that it is impossible to measure. That's why the scientists before Maxwell couldn't estimate it experimentally. Maxwell did because he did it theoretically. Theoretically, he could predict that there must be something present. So how will you observe whether this epsilon or del del t is present or not? Go beyond conduction. That means instead of a good conductor, use a insulator, use a dielectric material, use free space. Then only you'll observe this epsilon or del del t. Otherwise, if conventional current is present, if normal current flow is present, then this is so small, this epsilon or del del t is so small that it cannot be detected. Like I'm telling you one situation. You observe This is a battery. Now we have two plates of a capacitor. This is one plate and this is another one. Sorry, this one another one. These are the two plates. These are the two plates of a capacitor. Okay, and we know that when battery is on, then this is the direction. This is the direction along which electrons will flow. This is the direction along which electrons will flow. So that this, say plate two will be negatively charged and plate 1 will be positively charged. So the current direction opposite to electron flow. So this is the direction of conventional current. This is the direction of conventional current. Okay. But between the two plates of the capacitor, no charge flows because there is no path. There is no conductor in between. In between the two plates of the capacitor, there is no wire. So charges cannot flow. Okay. No doubt. Now, if you can draw an ampere loop here, this is an ampere loop. A loop is drawn here. Now, with respect to this loop and this surface within this loop, if I now find out B dot dl, if I find out closed integral B dot dl, then it will be equals to mu naught, the total current passing through this region. What is the current passing through this region? I current. I current is already passing through this. So, mu naught I. If I consider this S1 surface, whether if I consider another surface S2, hemispherical, this surface. Now I am observing this surface, this whole thing. Is there any current passing through this? No, because this region is vacuum. There is no wire attached. So in this case, if I use closed integral B dot dl, Ampere's law, then mu naught times total current 0. That was the inconsistency. In Ampere's law. So how can it be removed? By adding that extra term. And what was the extra term? Now if I write it, that means we should write it mu naught I. I mean, I'm giving it different name because I am writing I for this current. So I'm saying I enclose writing plus mu naught epsilon naught del E del T dot ds. That was we have written. Okay, that was the modified law now. Now again we'll use surface S1. This surface. So for the surface S1, B dot dl, mu naught I enclosed. That means total current enclosed. What is the total current enclosed within this surface? I. No problem. Plus del E del T. What is the amount of change in electric field? No change in electric field here. We do not understand where is the change. 0. So total mu naught I. Now S2 surface. This hemispherical surface. Closed integral B dot dl equals to mu naught times the total current enclosed. What is the total current enclosed within it? There is no current enclosed. We cannot enclose any current because between two plates of the capacitor there is no actual charge flow. 0. That was the problem. Now in the modified thing, plus something is there. What is that something? Mu naught epsilon naught. Now integration of del E del T dot ds. What is the electric field between the two plates of the capacitor? We know between two plates of the capacitor it is sigma by epsilon naught. If you remember in class 12, the electric field between the two plates of a capacitor is sigma by epsilon naught. And what is sigma? Sigma is charge per unit area. That is Q by A. So it will be Q by A epsilon naught. So that is electric field between the two plates of the capacitor. Q is the charge, A is the area, and epsilon naught is the free space permittivity. Now what we require? Del E del T. So what will be del E del T? 1 by A epsilon naught constant. It will be del Q del T. That is, what is del Q del T? Rate of change of charge with time, current. This is nothing but current by A epsilon naught. Therefore, what we get? mu naught epsilon naught daily del t dot ds is mu naught epsilon naught. This gives you I by a epsilon naught into ds integration gives you a. So a cancel out, epsilon naught cancel out. What we have? So therefore, you actually from this portion you actually get mu naught I. So total mu naught I. So the point I want to make here is that in the first case, when Ampere's law was not modified, then if we take two different cases, the same formula gives us two different results. If I take S1 surface, then we get the right hand side, the value as mu naught I, whereas if I take this hemispherical surface, then the value I am getting, that closed integral b dot dl, I am getting as 0. So the same formula cannot give you two different results under two different conditions. So that was the inconsistency in Ampere's law. That was the inconsistency in Ampere's law. Because this is not steady state condition. You are using capacitor. And if you use the capacitor, then the current is not steady. And that's why Ampere's circuital law gives you some inconsistency. And that inconsistency was removed by Maxwell by adding that extra term. That extra term is rate of change of electric field. So if I write it in integral form, then it should be mu naught into the conventional current plus mu naught epsilon naught daily del t dot ds. That was the mathematical form. Now if I use that mathematical form for the surface S1, then it's straightforward, we get mu naught I as before. Now if I use the semi-hemispherical surface S2, this one, then conduction current in between the two plates of the capacitor is 0. That means current enclosed 0. No problem. But now due to the second term, daily del t, we can get some value. And how can we get it? We know that between two plates of a capacitor, there must be an electric field, because we know one plate is positively charged, one plate is negatively charged. So there must be an electric field in between the two plates. And from our 10 plus 2 standard knowledge, we know that electric field is sigma by epsilon naught, where sigma is charge per unit area. Therefore, if I use daily del t, then a epsilon naught constant, only variable is charge. So it will be del q del t, which is nothing but current. That means this whole quantity mu naught epsilon naught daily del t dot ds actually gives us mu naught I. Which, though conventional current was 0, but rate of change of electric field, the rate of change of electric field gives us the amount of mu naught I. So that again total value is mu naught I. So now after modification by Maxwell, the Ampere law gives us the same result even when the current is not steady. In brief, what we have learned here, we have learned that first point, Ampere's law, which is used to estimate the magnitude and direction of any magnetic field at any point near a current carrying conductor, is not consistent always. Ampere's law is consistent, that means gives you rightful result only when the current is steady. So under steady state condition only, Ampere's law gives you correct result. But if you go beyond magnetostatics, when current is not steady, then Ampere's law is inconsistent. It needs some modification, and that modification was given by Maxwell with the help of two well-established laws, two well-established formula. One is the Gauss law, and other is equation of continuity. With the help of these two, he added an extra term on right hand side, and that extra term, if I write the differential form, then that extra term is epsilon naught daily del t. That extra term is epsilon naught daily del t. This term is added with the conduction current density, And that's why, since it is added to that conduction current density, this extra term is called displacement current density. This is called displacement current density because it has the same unit as J. And therefore, when we take the dot product with ds and integrate it, we get something whose unit will be same as current. We call that as displacement current. So this displacement current density and displacement current are actually misnomer. There is no actual flow of charges here. They are called displacement current or displacement current density only in the sense that, like normal current, rate of change of electric field can also produce magnetic field. Like normal current can produce magnetic field, rate of change of electric field can also produce magnetic field. It has no other property of current. This is the only property that, not like normal current, it can also produce magnetic field. There is no other property. So there is no actual flow of charges. There is no Ohm's law here. There is no free or bound charges here. There is only in the sense that it can also produce magnetic field. And this current, which is actually misnomer, is called displacement current because displacement vector D is actually taking part in this process because D equal to epsilon naught E. So D equal to epsilon naught E. D equal to epsilon naught E in case of conductor, where P is 0 for, that polarization vector is 0 for conductor. So that's why D equal to epsilon naught E. So displacement vector is present. That's why this current is called displacement current, or the current density is called displacement current density. It has no other property of conventional current.